This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I think so. What exactly we are doing? Yeah, I think in the demo registration we have a plan to add these two components like this. Still, we did not add. We are going to add. Okay, now I think in this component, when you click on one of the button to notify the event, here we are registering one of the event, and through the application event, the handler in the courses table is handling that event, and that part was working fine. Now we need to display the records in the table. Go to the courses, maybe to avoid all the confusion. So let me close other tabs. Only open data table, courses data table component. Here we need to display the UI. I think in the controller we have some logic. So here already I think we are getting all the records from the one of the Apex method and storing into courses. All we need to do, iterate over these courses and display in the table format. So that's what we need to do. For that, instead of writing the custom table, we have a standard table. There is a standard data table component. I want to use that. Go to Lightning component library. Mostly we need to try using the standard component. Under Aura, go to Lightning data table. The basic table is sufficient. Okay, and also we need checkbox, right? Data table with the selected rows. Okay, I'm choosing this one, and mostly same thing we are going to copy and remove unnecessary things. Okay, so here I'm copying this data table standard component. Data table to show the courses. Here I am adding. So here columns we need to supply data. We are going to store the data, and maximum selection we don't want. On row selection, what we need to do, we'll do that. Okay, so here maybe instead of data, all our data is in the courses. I'm supplying the courses. Here the data is there. All the data I'm supplying through this data attribute, and the columns we have to supply, right? Which columns you want to show in the data table. I think when you go to this, so what are the columns we are returning? So master label and all these columns. Okay, so let's say I need everything. For now, I'm hard coding. We can also make it dynamic. Okay, but it takes a lot of time. Maybe I'll give some references before ending this training. Those kind of things you see in some of the examples, whatever I provide. Okay. So for now, so what I do, I'm going to hard code those fields in the one of the attribute. Okay, so for that, I'm defining here. I'm going to define one of the attribute. In that, I'm going to keep all these things. So I'll say type array of string, and as a default, I'm keeping all this. Okay, each and every value. So all these are the fields which we want from the table. Okay, so same thing here. I'm just adding. Now let's see. Due to this, we should see the table. Okay, on selection, what should happen? So on selection, here in the example, they are calling this, right?
Srini, I think you need to change the name of the attribute. There are two attributes now: courses list and courses string.
Yeah. So this one is columns. This one is for columns. Okay. Now, so here this terminology is not good. Handle row selection. Because this is the name of the function I'm giving. So whenever user check the one of the checkbox, okay, so it will call this function component comma event. So here, what exactly they are doing here, right? So to hold selected rows from the table. So this is how we need to refer. Okay, so on the selected rows, I'm storing into one of the attribute. So this is the, this is how we have to refer to get the selected rows. So this only to hold the selected courses, I think we need one of the variable. Right? So here, to hold the selected courses. I'll say selected courses. Into this, whatever the courses we select in this table, we have here. All those things I'm assigning to that attribute. Component dot set the attribute v dot name of the attribute, and we are assigning the selected rows, whatever we have retrieved. So that's it. So this is to hold the selected courses. So what we do with those, we'll see. Okay. So for now, we're done with the logic by copying from the standard component. So let's see how it is behaving. Deploy. So I think it's already okay. So I think already I have attribute. Okay, so this is this is it is holding previously in the multi-select whatever we selected that one. So maybe it's a selected rows. We use this terminology. All the selected rows are here. Okay, and also so really maybe we don't need to supply an entire thing. We'll see later. If we don't want what exactly we want, we'll get it. For now, whatever the selected courses are there in the table, so all those things we are assigning to this SEL rows, one of the variable deploy. Go back just to see. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything. So where is going wrong? Okay, we have to know. So here, these columns. So basically, the column format, whatever system expect, is in a different format. I think if you see this example, the columns, how the columns the Salesforce is expecting like this. Okay, whatever I gave is something wrong. So that's the reason. Okay, maybe let's follow this. Copy. Maybe it's not like a single string. Taking as list and I'm removing the default value. So what I'll do, onload. So I think we have the Aura handler. Already we are calling. I think this is not the init handler. I think we don't have do init handler. I think here we have from where we are calling. So still we did not. So we wrote the logic, but somehow still we are not calling them, right? Courses, data tables. So we need to call. Okay. Here handler to execute logic on component logic when the component is initiated. So we have to use this Aura handler, one of the standard value init, that event we need to handle. So init, use value this action c dot to init. Onload, we are calling this function. So here, along with the querying the data from the database and storing into these courses, we also are adding the columns. So for us, mostly all the columns, if you want to show some currency symbols and all like this, we need to use. I think a few columns we have as a number. Okay, so this much complex thing we don't need. Straightforward. One of the column is for the course name. Right, in the table, whatever we are querying. One is course name, duration in days, and fee. Here, course name is the label, and the API name is master label. That one, it is a text, and we have one of the number type, duration in days. Okay, so here I'll say duration in days. That is just inspiring from the standard Lightning component, standard data table component. So here, duration in days, that one we give, and it is a number, and the amount, I think this is fee, is dealing with the currency. Okay, so
Sorry, Seamus, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is not audible.
sorry,
Your voice is slow.
voice is low. Is it fine now? For
Yeah, it
everyone,
is.
Better.
is it fine now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
So here, one of the column is for fee. Especially if you want to show the currency symbol and all those things, we give like this. And type attribute for currency, we need to give the currency code. Okay. So let's say I'm giving as INR. Delete, delete. So only these columns. So we have to maintain this format. Somehow previously we did not maintain, that's why we did not see anything. Now we have the data which is queried from the database, and also we have the columns on init. We are storing all this. And now when you save, deploy,
Shinu, can you please explain handle row selection JavaScript function?
handle row selection. Okay. Now if you scroll down, so what will happen? Whenever we check the checkbox, when you see the table, let's say there are 10 rows, I can choose first row, 7th row, 9th row, something like that. Each time whenever we choose the checkbox, this will be called handle row selection. And now event.get param, right? When you use this one, automatically in the table, whatever the rows we have selected, all those rows information will be retrieved here. Now those rows I'm storing into one of the attributes.
So my question over here is on line number 41. How did you pass that selected rows in the get?
This is a system. So in the documentation, by seeing that, we should know. Okay, so this is how we refer the selected rows from the table, right?
Okay.
Internally, Salesforce might be firing one of the event, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and supplying all these rows.
Okay,
So
so
this
comes
is
by default.
only by reading the documentation we get to know.
Okay.
Okay, so the standard data table, if you refer like this, we get the selected rows. Okay,
Okay.
otherwise, cannot. Only it's like a reading documentation and knowing. It's like that.
All
Okay.
right. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. So now I think it is deployed. Let's go back to this. Refresh. Now we are seeing the data, right? So we are seeing the data, and the next goal is we select, and let's see really the selected rows it is holding here or not. To know it is really choosing properly. For now, I'm just printing in the log component get the selected rows. I'm just printing in the console so that we get to know the selected records are entered into that attribute or not. Just to refresh. By this time, in the console, it should print those. Console. Okay, I think it is having. Now all the records are coming, whatever we have selected. Okay, so now I have deselected. Only one is there. No, somehow it is bringing. Okay, so now I think we are good with this. Now what I want to do, I want to delete. Let's say maybe I will first explain about the delete functionality. Our next goal is deleting these selected courses. Okay, so we choose this, and when you click on delete, so whenever we click on delete in the other component, if you see here, handle app event, this is what it will call. Okay, now here, if the action type is delete, now I'm going to write the logic. Okay, now simply what I'll do, if action type is equal to, here based on the button whatever we click, that button label it will supply. It is delete. Now I'm going to call one of the handler function and write the logic to delete. Okay. Now let's say I want to place this logic in the helper. Okay, so here choose helper. I'll say handle delete component and event. Simply, if the action type is delete, we are going to say helper dot handle delete. Supply the component and event. Then now we have to focus on writing the logic here for the delete. Okay, to delete. So here technically deleting is nothing but we have a row. If you see here registration and query, I think we are hard coding and working with this. Right? We have hard coded this record ID in one of the component. Courses is one of the field. Now if you see deleting in the sense, so since by seeing this price, let's say they are thinking the price is too high, they want to delete and understand. So after deleting, what is the price? Okay, so that's the reason we are providing option to delete. Okay, so when we delete technically, we need to remove the, let's say if I delete div here, we have to remove this div from here and save up to that. Technically, it is update. We are going to update this record, which we are deleting. Okay. So delete here is nothing but updating the course by removing this selection. Okay. So now for this, all we need is we need record ID to update the courses field in registration record. For update, we need record ID. And also, we need to supply the courses which we need to delete. Right? Courses to remove from the courses field. Okay, so it's like it's not like we are deleting the record. We are removing those courses from the courses field of the registration record. Now, where is that ID? So here we are thinking this we are going to supply from the courses selection component. For now, right? So whatever I'm hard coding now, we are going to remove at the end and test the entire flow how it is working. For now, to proceed working, let's say this is the ID supplied. When that is supplied, from that we are going to delete. So now the ID, right, constant record ID that is there in one of the attribute component dot get v dot record ID. So in this attribute, the ID is there. This is what we need to technically update. And also the courses the courses which we need to remove. Right? It's very easy to supply in a string format. So what we do, component dot get. So we have an attribute v dot, I think, selected rows. Here the selected rows are there. Yeah, so selected rows. Okay, so now if the at least one selected row is there, so then we need to proceed with the logic, otherwise it is unnecessary. Right? Otherwise we show a message saying that please select at least one record to delete. Right? So let's say else, we say for now, to make it very simple, I'm alerting. Okay, please select at least one record to delete. This is the message we are going to show. If they select at least one, then we don't want entire record. If you see here, this is how the row is generated. In this, all we need is only this master label. Okay, this name. Okay, so from this, when you iterate over this selected rows, okay, I'm taking a iteration. I'm taking for loop. I'm iterating over the selected rows. Okay, so here I'm taking index based for loop I equal to 0, I less than selected rows. In JavaScript, to know the size of the array, we have to use length I plus plus. And now here SCL rows of I. At first time in the 0th index, that record master label, select that. Okay, so all those things maybe. So what I'll do, I'm going to maybe add to one of the array. Right? So let's say here I'm defining constant, and I'll say selected courses is equal to, right? So array, even though we define as a constant, you can add or remove the elements from the array. It's constant meaning is we cannot directly assign by replacing the existing. But when there is a empty array, adding and removing elements is allowed. Okay. So now to this, I'm adding. To add element to the array in JavaScript, we need to use push. Okay, array name dot push to add the element. Now this will be having all the selected list of courses. Okay. So now, so what I want, I don't want to somehow send in the list format. I want to send this entire thing in the string format. Okay, so here I am defining one of the selected courses string. Okay, into this. After the for loop, we have the list of courses. Now here into this. In JavaScript, when you have a array, if you want to combine that entire array into one string, so what we do, array dot join. You want to join all those elements with anything, you can also give empty, or I want to join with a semicolon. Now what will happen? All the courses which are in array, all those will be added together by separating each and every element with a semicolon. Right now, this is the thing we are going to supply. Okay, we supply the record ID, we supply this courses string into a method and try to remove those courses from the registration record. Okay, so call apex method to remove the selected courses from the registration record. That is what we need to do. So for that, is our method is ready. We don't have, right? We have to write the method. So here I am defining one of the method. @ Aura enable. We are following some framework kind of thing. Just quickly copy, map, say output map is equal to new, return. Okay, so now here to this what we are going to supply record ID and a selected courses string, right? So now, so here to pass that string record ID is equal to, in the input map we get record ID with this as a key. Okay, but it will be in the object format, typecasting into string format. Right, in the same way, okay, same thing, but the selected courses in the string format we get it. So we'll say string, so maybe we are keeping comma, we are reusing the same data type whatever we define. Now this is what we are going to supply. Right? Here also I'm parsing into that. We are getting that record ID and the selected courses string, whatever supply. Okay. Now by using this information, the record, right? Also to know in the existing record what are the values are there. That also we should know. First we are going to query based on the record ID and from the courses multi-select pick list. From that we need to remove these selected rows. So first we need to query, right? Query for registration record to know the existing courses field value, right? So here for sure the record ID will be valid. I'm going to query on this, select ID comma courses is the multi-select pick list field, courses __ C from registration __ C object where ID of the registration is equal to the record ID, right? So now, so whatever the record it gives, storing into this one. So we have to store into this record. It's always better to use list of records. But when you have the confidence that there is no way that we get the record IDs wrong, and always there is one record with that. So that time, straightforward we can assign. Okay. So anyway, based on what we implemented, for sure the ID whatever is supplied will be there. In worst case, due to the parallel execution, if something goes wrong, we see some errors. Okay, so it's always better to store into the list. Right? So registration list. Okay, now here we are going to proceed the logic only if this is having, okay? If it is not equal to null and size is greater than 0, so that time the main thing what we need, so if there is a record that will be in the 0th index, from that getting this one, and so this one maybe I'm going to store into a list. Okay, so and I'm going to split this based on the semicolon, because the multi-select pick list values are semicolon separated. If you see when you query how it is done, this is what we get. I'm splitting into one of the list, right? So maybe here I'll define list of string. I'll say existing courses is equal to new list of string. Okay, into this I'm saying. Okay, so when you split, the string will be converted into list format. So whatever is there, I'm adding. Now those courses will be here, right? So from this, we need to remove whatever the selected courses are there. We need to remove those courses from here, right? Now to hold the selected courses and again in the list format. Okay, so maybe you can also maybe take set. It is always better. In worst case, if there are some duplicates are there, that can be removed. Here maybe I'm taking set. Selected courses is equal to new set of string. So these are the selected courses. That one also I'm splitting based on the semicolon. Now these are the selected courses. We iterate over the selected courses and remove these values from the existing courses. Iterate over selected courses and remove the values from existing. That's what we are going to do. Iterate string course name existing, iterate over the selected courses and remove, right? From a set, if you want to remove the value, dot remove that course name, right? Now let's say out of this admin and dev selected, we remove both, and the remaining two, there might be some remaining courses here, right? There might be some remaining courses here. So those things again concatenate into one of the string and update, right? Now here I'm taking string remaining courses is equal to, by default I'm maybe blank, nothing is there. Now if the existing courses size is greater than 0, that means at least one is there. So that time we are going to concatenate. Okay, but here I want to do one check. If this string is blank, string dot is blank. If that is blank, so we need to first time when you are adding, we add like this. Okay, So remaining courses and add that courses, but we need to iterate over this. So here we are iterating over this. So whatever remaining will be there, those will be there after this iteration. We are iterating over that. And first time already the string is empty, right? So that time directly we replace with the first value. Else the string is not empty. What we do for this existing string, plus equal to, we are concatenating with the semicolon plus this course name. Let's say already admin is there. Semicolon, the other course, like that. Course name. So like this. So finally, we have the remaining courses, and these remaining courses, if there are nothing is there, that means we need to update with empty because they deleted everything. Now here we need to update, right? Update the registration record. Here we are going to update. To update record, all we need is just a new registration. We need ID. ID we have in the record ID variable, and we need to update the courses __ C field with the remaining courses. So since we don't need to refer this again and again, directly I can say update. Okay, so in case while updating, if there is any issue, try and the catch exception. Okay, to this, whatever here we have our output map. By default, we say is success false, and we'll make it true if here it is successfully inserted. Right, output map dot put is success, say true. In case of failure, keep the message why that is failed. Right? Adding one more key and value message into that. Say exception e dot get message in line number e dot get line number, getting the exception line number. Okay, this is what we are returning. So let's see. So I'm done with this logic. Now call this. Okay, I think this method name remove courses. That is the name I'm giving. Okay, now this one, our aim is we need to call this from our helper. Right? So far many times we call the methods. So just follow process component dot get c dot method name. So is this class is referred for this component? Yeah, it is referred. We are good. Now import map is equal to, so here we need to supply the record ID. That is what the method is expecting. Yeah, maybe you can give in single quote, or otherwise you can also give like this. Is equal to I think here we have record ID. And also in the method, it is expecting the selected courses string. I think here also we have the same thing. This one, right? So selected courses string supply. Okay, so let's say if this is empty, it is useless to proceed with this logic, right? So this logic we should not do if they don't select at least one course, right? So it makes sense to keep here because at least one selected row is there. That time only we do that. I'm moving to that. So now here action dot set params. And we have to supply the parameter in the object format. Only the one parameter the method is accepting is input map. To that already we prepared one input map to supply all our parameters. Dot enqueue action callback set callback this function the response store here constant state is equal to response dot get state. If state is equal to success, else there is something wrong. This console.log exception with state. And also the exception message whatever system produce response dot get error. That will be there. Just I'm printing that in the browser console. In case of success scenario, so the output map whatever we have that will come. Right? Output map is equal to response dot get return value. That will return that. Now I'm checking, is it output map that is success? Is internally it is succeeded? Right? Else we need to display a message. Okay, so maybe we do this later. So now in case of success scenario, so what we need to do? Maybe right, so just all we need to do, the table, this is removed, right? Again, we need to re-trigger the logic to have the latest. By removing this row, again, the remaining rows should be again generated, right? So for that, so what I want to do, in the controller.js, go to the controller.js of this. This is a controller.js. This do init logic, again, we need to re-trigger so that we'll get the latest data as per the new courses. Okay. Since I want to call this multiple times and then again and again, it's better to keep this logic in the helper. Okay. So here in the helper, here I'm defining handle do init function component comma event. All the logic in the do init, I'm moving to this method. Now all we do this one from the do init say helper dot handle doing it. Supply the component and event. Okay, so that way this will take care of working here. And also this one I want to again call in helper from one function to the other function. If you want to call, we use this dot and we'll doing it supply. That will take it, right? After successful update of the registration record, again get latest courses selected from the database. For now, maybe to make it very simple, okay, maybe slowly we have to fix all those things. Whatever the exception system is producing, I'll maybe print it. Okay, so if you want to show the information in a detailed way, because that is, I think that is a string, I think straightforward it will work. If it is not a string, if it is some class or something, we have to stringify and show. Okay, now what I'll do, output map dot message. In case something update fails, for now I'm showing message in the alert. So this is what we are doing. Let's see how it is going to work. Okay, so here, right click and deploy. Okay, now just refresh here. Okay, now I'm choosing this one, and when we click on delete, our method will call. And also, if you are interested to know line by line what is happening, right? Control P. What is our component name? Data table. Courses data table, right? Courses data table JS. So it will call this, and from here helper doing it. That is fine. The main thing what we are interested here, delete. Right? When we click on that, handle delete. When this is called, what is happening line by line, right? So I'm deleting this. Started here. First, we should have that ID of the registration record, right? I think that ID came. And the selected rows, at least one row should be there. So this is the selected row is there. And after that, it enters inside. And it is iterating. And it is pushing that value into, I think, right? So finally, here we have only one div is there. It is concatenating with the semicolon because only one element is there. So no semicolon. Right? So finally, it is trying to make the server call. So here, if you see our map, into that we have this record ID and course applying. Finally, it will trigger. So after some time, it will enter here when the callback is ready. Again, I'm keeping one debugger here and running. Callback is ready. It will here how we are handling state. We got a success, and after that, the map we got this map. There's some data. So is it success or not? I'm seeing it is success. What will happen? Again, it will re-trigger the doing it. So this time, when it is re-trigger the doing it, this time in the selected courses. Right? I think somehow we also need to remove that from the selected courses. Otherwise, now still it won't work, because even though we are re-triggering, there is a attribute SCL courses, still that is having that course, right? Whatever is previously assigned from the other component. Even though maybe it is updated in the database, somehow you don't see that until manually you refresh this, right? Until manually we refresh this one. No, that is also not happening. So maybe here also, is there anything? So we have to see all those things. Okay, so now just refresh this. So we are supplying this one, right? Dev is deleted actually. So the remaining records, I think somehow this is also hard coded in the component, I think, selected, that we need to replace with our dynamic value. The solution for that is from this class. We also just, along with the updating, we also return output map dot put the remaining courses we supply into this, okay, which is semicolon separated. Now here, before we re-trigger, replace existing attribute value with remaining courses. Okay, so the existing attribute, that is nothing but this selected courses. Here we are hard coding, right? That's why it's trying to get that hard coded value. So what we do, so that component dot set v dot assign to this. Okay, this way, after replacing that, whatever the default value is there, we're replacing with our latest data. Now when it calls, so in the handle do init, this will be having the courses as per our record, and we have to see the latest data. Okay, so now let's, mostly everything is working, only due to that we are not seeing that properly on the UI. Okay, now on load, why we are seeing only admin and dev? Because we have hard coded for our testing. Right? Now let's say I'm also deleting this. When you delete that, here you'll see only Aura and LWC. After we delete, we see Aura and LWC, those two in this table. Okay, so maybe this we don't need for now. Let's delete. Sorry, remaining courses is not defined. Okay, I have to say this output map dot. In that map, it is there. Okay, somehow I missed that. Okay, go back, just to refresh. We are going to delete this. Delete. We see after deleting, right? We see. So we have this LWC and also Aura. These two are remaining, right? So now it is working. Okay, but fully how it works, since in many places we have hard-coded values. Once we connect everything, we'll see everything working properly. Now the delete part is working fine. So if you see, this is updated with Aura and LWC. Okay, that is fine. Okay, now what we do as a next step, concatenate everything. I mean, now wherever we have hard coded, connect everything properly and make it work. That's what we need to do. For now, what we do, so far these two values we are having in the app, right? These two we supposed to really keep in this demo registration, right? Those two should come here in the demo registration in this component. Already we have the logic, everything in place. Demo registration component, right? This is the placeholder to here somewhere we mentioned, I think, right? Okay, sorry. So we need to keep that in the courses selection in this. Okay, so we have a placeholder for that. Go to courses selection component. So here, right? Here, just courses table actions here. Aura table is here. We need to keep these two things here. And also, mostly for the two components. So what we need to supply, I think we need to supply the record ID and the selected courses. Especially for the table component. Okay, for this I think no need to supply. For this, record ID is equal to record ID, and also the selected courses. So we have those attributes into that. So when you deploy, now our flow from here. So this courses selection, I'm selecting all these courses, right? Save and next, seeing here. So by this time, if you see this query, whatever we are having here, when you refresh, you see everything is there, right? Now from here, somehow we don't want, let's say this, and delete. Right, so you can say delete. So that is deleted. Okay. So like that, and also below to that we have to. So we have to show, I think, the estimation. So whatever the estimation is there, that estimation, what are the total number of hours duration, and all those things we need to display. Okay. So we'll deal with that in our next session because we don't have time. Tomorrow, mostly, we complete so all the connections between all these components and make it working properly. Only the final part pending will be export. That also we'll try to complete. And after that, we deal with the data table, row level actions, pagination, record forms, some of the concepts. Okay, so before ending today, any questions, anyone? So I think whatever we are discussing, if you practice all these things, really in the project we don't get this much scope to work on all these areas. It's like we are working for one of the big projects. Okay, so yeah. Any questions before ending today? Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow there is a festival. Maybe I have to decide. Maybe I'll drop email if it is cancelled, but for now we have the class. In case if it is cancelled, I'll drop email. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.